today I thought we could have a little discussion, have a little talk on enemas and enemas in water fasting. I do enemas during a water fast. I find that over 2, 3, 4, 5 days of water fasting, I feel a little bit, I don't know, like a little bit not quite super fresh. I don't want to say nauseous, that would be wrong. Maybe very, very slightly, just not super fresh and super clear. And that every few days I'll do an enema, and then I feel freshened. Like, I don't know, like if, like maybe when you get up in the morning, if you have a cool shower or go for a swim at the beach or whatever. I'm here in Australia, and that's possible here. You get that kind of fresh feeling. So something like that. And so I have tended, just on the basis of how my body feels, to utilize enemas in water fasting. However, many people don't. I first came across the concept, I think through the Tolmans, maybe Dan McDonald, about a book which was actually one of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I know it's getting a little far afield, but anyway. So I got intrigued by the Dead Sea Scrolls at one point. And one of the Dead Sea Scrolls is called the Gospel of Peace, Book 1. And you can actually go online, it's free, just Gospel of Peace, Book 1, like that, it shows up. And basically, the Dead Sea Scrolls are, they're a group of writings from the 1st century AD, mostly about Jesus. Anyway, so Jesus in this book is presented not just as the spiritual leader, but perhaps even more so as the healer. And in this book, he's talking about all sorts of different things. He's suggesting eating very simply, sleeping in the night, being awake in the, rising with the sun, and like this. He's talking about different sorts of natural health things. And he's also strongly encouraging and talking about the wonders of water fasting. And as part of the water fasting, he's suggesting enemas. And he's suggesting you have a gourd full of water. That's the word that's used, a gourd, with a sort of hollow tube, like a piece of bamboo or something like that. And you fill the gourd full of water and you lift it up, and somehow or other the other end is going in there, and the water, through a kind of gravity feed, is coming into the body and then coming out. And he says something like all sorts of vile and terrible things will come out. So anyway, that was my first idea, or the first time I sort of heard about it. That was many years ago. And I tried it, and it was very awkward and kind of weird in the beginning, but I immediately felt lighter, I felt better, and so I've incorporated it in my water fasting ever since. For full disclosure, like say Loren Lockman from Tanglewood doesn't recommend generally enemas, and Dr. Alan Goldhammer and Dr. Michael Clapper at True North Health in Santa Rosa, California, they run a water fasting center there. They also suggest to not do that. And their reasoning is that it may sort of enervate, it may stress the body a little bit. But perhaps that can be resolved by just doing it in a very gentle way, in a very peaceful way. And especially after you've done it a few times over a few years, you get used to it, and you can make it quite easy and no problem. But anyway, that's what they suggest. However, there is one situation where they do arrange, I believe, colonics at a local colonic center. And that is if the person has not come into the fast eating what they call SOS-free vegan, which is salt, oil, sugar-free vegan. But however, if you're a raw foodist, a vegetarian, whatever you are, whatever your situation is in life, you're on keto or you're doing this or that, coming into the fast with high water content foods, high fiber foods, a lot of water, a lot of fresh foods like that. I do watermelon and green juice. Watermelon I'm eating and green juice I'm drinking. That creates a situation where the body, the intestinal tract can be very clear. And then you're starting the fast where everything sort of slows down and becomes dormant. You've not got a lot of putrifying, fermenting material in the intestines. Whereas if you've, walked into a water fast straight from McDonald's or something, you've got a lot of gluggy, the white flour and the meats and the dairies and things. You can just imagine what would happen to a piece of meat if you leave it in a sort of hot, wet environment for a couple of weeks or something. It's going to putrefy. So they do recommend, although they don't generally recommend enemas or colonics, they do recommend them when the person has come from that kind of diet, what they call a SAD diet, Standard American Diet, I think is what that stands for. So if there's a lot of junk food, chips, cooked oils, and it hasn't been so good, lots of meats and dairies and things, then perhaps that first 1, 2, 3 days, perhaps some enema or colonic just to clear the system. But then they recommend leaving that from that point and just drinking fresh, clean water and resting. For myself, I have a slightly different experience. I do every 2, 3, 4 days. I'll get that sense in my body that I'm feeling a bit like very, very slightly poisoned. Just a little bit kind of like the way you feel, when you get out of bed in the morning and your mouth is maybe a little bit, so you feel nicer to brush your teeth and get a little fresh, have a cool shower, something like that. Exactly that same way, I feel that same shift in energy. I feel clearer, cleaner, lighter, fresher. If every few days I clean that part as well. Anyway, I hope that's interesting. This is day 4, and so far so good. I wish all of you well. May all good things come to you. As always, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, as you'd like. All the best.